Welcome to Micro Teaching, and we're looking at the Weimar Republic, and we're looking at something a bit more cheerful than we've been used to when looking at this Germany topic, because we're looking at the golden years of the Weimar Republic, which took place between 1924 and 1929. Remember, as we go through all the cultural changes that took place in Germany during this period, we have to remember that all of this was based on a wave of American money. And that money was a loan, which meant should the Dawes Plan be removed for any reason, Germany would collapse back into the poverty we'd seen after World War I. In short, because of the Dawes Plan, Germans had money to spend for the first time since the end of World War I. And they started to spend their money on cultural activities. The first of these is new types of painting. During the golden years of the Weimar Republic, we have a new movement of painting known as New Objectivity. Now, this was pioneered by artists such as Otto Dix and George Gross. Now, what they did was try to show life as it really was, which was a change from the idealised views that artists before this period had been painting about. You can Google image search either of these artists to see examples of their work. Secondly, we have a massive expansion in cinema. The most famous director at this time is called Fritz Lang, and the most famous film star, who you might have heard of, is called Marlene Dietrich. She was famous for being sexy, seductive, and mysterious, certainly qualities that would not have been valued before this golden era. The most exciting of all the changes that take place in Germany in this period is cabaret and nightlife. Cabaret is a show. You go, you sit at a table with a drink, and you watch different acts who come to entertain you. The kind of acts they were watching were strongly influenced by American music. So we see jazz appearing for the first time. We also see crazy parties which are friendly to transvestites, men dressing up as women, women dressing up as men. And linked to that, we have a strong acceptance of homosexuality. So culture is becoming much more liberal than you might have expected from Germany in this period. The final improvement we're going to look at, or the final change, is a new type of architecture known as Bauhaus. The Bauhaus group, their catchphrase was art and technology and new unity, and they pioneered simple shapes in their buildings. Again, if you Google image search this, you can see examples. And again, this was a step forward, or definitely a change from German architecture before, which was ornate and very, very stylized. Now, if you looked at all of these in isolation, you might be forgiven for thinking that Germany had undergone a complete and radical change from the way their culture had been before. But the change wasn't as complete as you might think. We have groups who object to it. First of all, the army, who are very traditional. They dislike the new strong Jewish influences. They disliked the increasing acceptance of homosexuality. And they regard all of this as frivolous, as not really real, and certainly not German. The same can be said of the older generation, and the same can be said of people who lived in rural areas, because all of these changes were largely limited to the city. These would have used this phrase, nicht Deutsch, which means not German. I'm going to give you a metaphor to explain this. A few years ago, I worked in a developing world country where money was flooding in for the first time. And one of the memories that sticks with me most closely is taking a bus out from the capital city to a village. On that bus were a group of well-dressed young ladies who came from the capital city. They were wearing makeup, they were wearing high heels, and they had piercings. As we got closer to the villages, they disappeared into a toilet at a service stop and utterly changed. When they came out, the high heels were gone, the makeup had been removed from their faces, and all the piercings had been taken out. Now, this was because they were going back to their homes, where the culture of Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia where I was living, which was growing, which was changing, just like Weimar Germany, was not accepted by their parents or their grandparents. So they knew that if they turned up dressed for the city, they would receive a condemnation from those communities. And that would have been exactly the same in this period. The young people, the people who are enjoying these changes, certainly would not have been comfortable expressing those changes to the older generation who object to them. That's about it for the golden years of the Weimar Republic. But to check your understanding, make sure that you can answer each of the three questions I've placed here. First of all, can you describe the features of the golden years? These can be all found on this diagram. Secondly, can you explain why there was a golden era between 1924 and 1929? For this, you might want to refer to one of my previous videos, but remember, all of this was based on loans. If that money was pulled away, all of these changes were likely to be reversed. And thirdly, why did some groups object to the cultural changes that we've been discussing today? Those cultural changes and the objections to them are found in this diagram here. Remember that many groups in Germany were not comfortable with the changes that were taking place. Thank you for listening. More videos to follow. I'll leave the diagram up for a few seconds so that you can review these questions and the answers to them. Thank you very much.